Hey everybody, this is Mark and this is Dice Monkey, and today we're going to get back to work on this Dwarven Brewhouse. So, last time we worked, I put a little tea light in there. Last time we ended up working on this bottom layer. Let's get that in frame. You can see the doors there. So we've gotten that all done, except we're going to be lining this with black to cover up the extra paint. Let's see, let me get that. There we go. So then today, and then I also did we got two different tanks here. These still need to be inked so that we get nice creases in there among all the joints. So we're going to be working on the roof and then the main floor as well. I think this should be pretty simple and straightforward. When we had worked on the forge, let me get that in frame. So we worked on the forge. That one we were using this nice blue and a few different other colors. So we're going to do the same thing with this guy for the roof so that they match and they go together well despite them being different types of tiling. So I'm going to set this guy out of the way. And we're going to start working on the roof. I'll get all the rest of this out of the way. So, you can see we've got a lot more of the braiding along here. We're probably going to make this gold, do some silver up here. This is where these tanks are supposed to connect, right there. So we'll probably do those in silver as well. That in silver. And yeah, this should be pretty straightforward. So let's get to it. All right, and if you have any questions along the way, it looks like we have one person in right now. So we will get to work. I'm using a royal blue here. I think that's what I worked on last time. In the end, if they're slightly different colors, that's not going to be a problem. As long as they have the same general tone. We're just going to hit it with a much broader brush. Make sure I'm getting in frame. Okay. So I'm just basically going to coat this whole thing in blue. And then we'll clean up afterwards. I think I'm going to do bronze along this top lining here. I think that'll look really good. Looks like we got a little bit of, there we go. Got a little bit of stringing from the print. Somewhere around here I've got tweezers, but I'm not seeing them, so I'm just going to use clippers. Oh, it came off of my finger, so cool. Okay. And if you got any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat. It said, looking dope. I ordered some of these from your sponsor, and I'm excited to get mine. Yeah, he does really, really great prints. They're really, really smooth, very minimal layer lines for FDM, which is really good. This model was provided by TabletopTerrainMinis. And he's been really great. I'm hoping to work with him some more in the future. So there's going to be places where it's a little bit darker and a little bit lighter from others, which is fine because it's tiling. So it'll be like that. I have found with these buildings that I have to use so much more paint than I expect. So by going across here, it makes sure to get in the joints underneath each of the tiles. Make sure that I'm staying in frame. I think I'm going to do some more paint streams soon, covering standard miniatures, because I've had quite a few friends asking me how it is I paint so fast. I was looking at a video the other day, or a picture the other day on Reddit where somebody was showing an orc arm that they said took them 4 hours to paint, and I was like, I don't even understand how it takes 4 hours to paint like a single model. I guess there's been a couple models that I've taken my time on. Would an airbrush save paint, or does that end up using more? You'd probably save paint and a lot of time by using an airbrush. I've got an airbrush, but I think I need a stronger pump, and then also the particular needle that I was using when I was trying to clean it ended up bending. So I think I need a brand new airbrush setup. I've only done a little bit of airbrushing, not a ton, and mostly just to prime stuff. So yeah, if I just used an airbrush across this whole thing, I would have been done with this entire thing in 2 minutes to get the whole roof bluified, I guess. So after we finish up this main color, we're then going to be going in with, I was using Vallejo's Royal Blue. We'll be using the dark Prussian blue for the darker color. And then I think I used black ink. No, I used blue ink for my other building, so we'll be using my blue ink for that as well. And I'm out of the blue. I use this little fidget toy popper for my paint when I'm not using my wet palette, and for buildings like this I don't really use my wet palette because it doesn't seem to really be a need. And I've still been trying to figure out how to use my wet palette that doesn't make the paint separate over time. That's been a big problem for me. I don't know if I've got my wet palette too wet or what. All right. One of my issues with airbrushes too is making sure that I get it thin enough. I've got a bunch of specific airbrush paint, but even then everybody's like, oh yeah, that stuff's way too thick, you really got to thin it down. I'm like, what's the point of the airbrush paint if I'm just going to be continuing to thin it down? Alright, we're just about done with the blue here. Sometimes on places that are particularly dense, just sort of daubing at them will get those spots filled in. There. So the standard non-airbrush Pro Acryl seems to work fine with little to no thinning. That's good to know. I'll probably need to pick that up. Let me see. The one I've got is, I've got the Army Painter War Paints. There we go. So that's the one I've been using for mine. But like I said, I have to thin it down. So, let's see. Which paintbrush did I just throw in the... Here we go. You know, I think I'm out of paper towels. I did not bring any in with me. All right. Okay. I'm just getting it dried off here on my hands. Wash my hands later. Okay. You know what? There's a little bit of... There's some tiles I missed here, so I'm just going to pull out a thinner brush. All right, there we go. Let's see, just a second. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and keep working on. This is still a little bit wet, so we'll move on to a different color and then come back with this dark blue. So, kind of just shoved everything out of the way. Here we go. Okay. So like I said, I think last stream, I've got this Citadel Air lead belcher. I prefer the Air to regular lead belcher just because it flows a lot smoother. So it's probably the only air paint that I use in as like not an air paint. So see, it goes on nice and easy. I'm using broader brushes here because they cover more space and I can just go back if I need to and touch up. Because in the end, your terrain should not be overshadowing the rest of your table. Like, you want it to look really good, but you also don't want it to look... You don't want it to look better than your miniatures. Okay. I think I got that covered. Oh, I gotta get that back in frame. There we go. All right. Then got this area. bit thick on the... There we go. Okay. So, now we're going to work on the copper here. So we're going to run copper along the top of this and then down this part. These peaks at the end and there, those are going to be in gold. But basically we're using all kinds of different metals because that's what's been getting dug out of the Dwarven mines. I had said this in my last stream, but there's a scenario for Warhammer Fantasy, I think like 4th edition, from Grudge of Drong, the Grudge of Drong campaign, that takes place fighting over a Dwarven Brewhouse between a Dwarf army and a High Elf army. So I'm going to try to find somebody who has High Elves to play a game of Warhammer the Old World, and we're going to use this terrain here. And I've got a lot of city terrain, so I could go and use this. In that as well, among all the city stuff. So this is a really big surface. It's going to be using up a lot of my ink. Yeah, still in frame. Cool. But for any parts that use black or brown, I recently just picked up. There was a local game shop, a Hobbytown USA, that was getting closed down, and I managed to snag a couple of bottles of Leo Sepia for really cheap. And then a while back I bought some black ink. I can't remember what the brand is. The Vallejo model wash for dark vehicles. It's a little bit too dark for me normally. I prefer Nuln Oil because it's a little bit thinner. But for something like this, that'll be good. So any of the stonework that I worked on last time, that's going to get inked with that black. I believe it's the same ink that I ended up using for the forge as well. And then this part, and on the tanks too, I'll be using that Sepia, which also it's a bit heavier ink than the Games Workshop Seraphim Sepia that I normally like using more. Okay. Got both those sides, and now we're going to work right down the middle here. Okay. So that's all we need for the bronze there. Do I want to do... No, I was thinking about coming in and using up some of this bronze or copper on these, but I'm going to wait, I think. So we'll wait on that. And let's get to work on the gold. This is the Army Painter War Paints Bright Gold. It's a pretty good one. I like it a lot. It particularly works well if you get a nice like neutral brown underneath. Then it just sort of makes it like a shimmery brown. So, but it's a good one. It's nice and thick, and it takes ink really well. Am I in frame? I'm not. There we go. So YouTube is nice because it allows me to do all of my streaming and regular videos, and I can grab my TikTok videos and sort of put them all in one place. Yeah, that is a problem with this sometimes, is it can be a little bit thin, so I'm going to have to do a second layer. But I'd love to add in Twitch, because Twitch, it seems you can do a lot more like interaction with the audience and stuff, and possibly building a bigger audience, because right now I just really don't have one. I probably should be uploading more videos more regularly. I'm sure that the algorithm would like that a lot better. But there we go, back in frame. I've been doing this with this braiding. I don't necessarily need it to completely cover everything in the gaps, because I'm going to be hitting all this with a wash, and that wash will fill in the gaps a lot more. I don't necessarily care about the underside of this thing, because like it's fine. It's not fully painted in. There's places that are lighter and darker, but you're not going to ever see that. However, I do want to get just under enough that from the outside of the building, when this is laid down, you don't see black. Let me switch into a little bit broader brush. Oh, that's, hi, hey, much quicker. There we go. I should have been doing this earlier. Except that it's not as strong as over there. All right. Actually, you know what? I didn't like using that broader brush. It came out not as gold, I guess. It's a little bit more yellow. I think just because it was spread a bit thinner. Yeah, see, that's looking much more like the color I wanted. I think I'm going to have to let that dry to be able to actually tell if I... Do those look different? They look about the same to me from the camera, but... Alright. This gold is acting very, very thin today. I'm not sure I like it. The problem is I'm this deep into it. I don't really want to switch colors when I go over to the other side. So I'm just going to hope that inking fills it in. We'll see. All right. So I think I'm pretty much done with... Oh, I gotta get the back sides of both of these. All right. So now we're gonna get the front here. Yeah, it's just... I wonder if I didn't shake it well enough. I may not have shaken it well enough because it's just coming out a bit thin. I'm tempted to just try inking this right away. Just see how I like it. See if I need a dry brush in a different color. Yeah, this part here is looking... it's not quite dry enough for me to ink. I'm moving real heavy on the paint too, I think, just to make sure that it's actually covering enough. I'm actually thinking about building a 2-foot by 2-foot Mordheim board, and so it's because they've got that foam board that you can get at the hardware store that's 2 feet by 2 feet, so it makes it super convenient. My idea is I'm going to take and actually have it in layers. So my main layer will be the city street, and I'll actually like put down cobblestone work and things like that, and then have some raised areas with some stairs and ladders and things like that, and different buildings will be on higher and lower levels to give lots of different variety, and then have manholes that will lead down into the sewer below. And the sewer below, I will build basically a 2-foot by 2-foot board with the Dragon Lock terrain from Fat Dragon Games, and then I can go and actually like have an entire sewer system, so you can pop up anywhere across the board coming up through the sewers, and then you can fight down in the sewers below too. So I think that should be a really cool board idea. I'm not sure if I can pull it off, but there's this website that allows you to build like layouts for your Dragonlock stuff. So I think I'll start with the sewer layer, get that all figured out, and then have somebody print that for me. But because it's going to be permanent, whereas Dragonlock is normally supposed to be able to like pop apart and put back together, I'll actually be filling in all the gaps, like in the sewer waterways and stuff. I'll be filling all those in so that it's a solid single piece. I'll be gluing it all together. But I think it would be really, really cool. I've always wanted to have a very elaborate wartime board, and I think this is my opportunity to do so. So we'll see. Okay, I think this is now, this is now dry enough. I'm going to try inking this. We're going to see what we come up with. So, this is my sepia. It's this Vallejo sepia that I just put into one of these bottles because my inks, I prefer to have them in bottles instead of squeezing them out. So there we go. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Yeah, that gives me a lot better detail, so I'm not feeling as bad about the gold not looking great. It's important to make sure to wick out if you've got like too much in an area. All right. So with that, renewing my confidence in this gold, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to thin out some of the ink building in here, though. All right. Yes, I lick my brushes. I didn't put too much on my hand. All right. So now that I know that's going to be okay, let's move on to the other side. Can I set that? Yep, I can set that down like that. Okay. Ink basically cures all ills. I've been painting for probably more than 20 years now, painting miniatures. And like I feel like I've kind of plateaued. I feel like I kind of plateaued like a long time ago. And there's like a few times here and there where I'll suddenly have like a little improvement. But my main goal is to have the models look good on the tabletop, not necessarily to look good in like super close detailed photos. If they look great in photos, all the better, but it's not my overall goal, which then leads to me sometimes looking at miniatures that I paint and looking at the photos and being like, maybe I'm not a very good painter. But once they are on the tabletop, they look great. The nice thing is I feel like this distance here is just about like the distance I want people to be looking at it from. I ended up with some paintbrush hair stuck in there. Oh, and it flicked off. Okay. I didn't end up with any of that ink dripping off. That's nice. Oh, I didn't finish the side of the doorway. Have to go back for that. And like with my last stream where I painted up the bottom floor, I'm not going to be inking these today. I was just inking this to make sure that that was going to look better. I'll be inking off stream just because it then takes forever to dry and everything, so there's not really a point to it. But I'm going to do a full video showing both buildings once they're all fully done. Yep, still in frame. Okay. A little more on the underside there. Alright, so that's done for your basics, but we're not going basic here, so we're going to get some dark Prussian blue in some of these, particularly on tiles where like I accidentally got some silver on here. So this will actually act sort of as a bit of a cover-up on some of the crimes I've committed on this. And like with the stonework, I'm basically just going to be looking for places that don't feel bunched up. I don't want too many of the tiles to be this darker color. I just want a few here and there, and I don't want them to be too much in one place. I may do a couple of, because this is supposed to sort of feel like they had to like go and climb up on the roof and replace some shingles. So in a couple of places I may have a couple in a row that are like this, but like here I can see that there's a gap here. I could probably use another one up here. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to get a couple of tiles on each of these parts. Yeah, still in frame. All right. Let's go on that side, and then we will flip around. Let's see, I'm going to do a couple right here. Look like they were placed together. All right. So I think we're pretty much done with the, once I looked up and saw, I want to add a couple more tiles here. Okay. Good. So that is the roof. We'll get that inked later. I'm going to set it off to the side for now. And now, the tricky part with this is that it doesn't stand upright on its own because there's these legs here. So, like the bottom floor, these doors actually like swing and everything, which is cool. There's a metal rods that go down through here that allow it to swing. And this looks like this is stucco, inside and out. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to use the big brush, and I'm going to go ahead and hit almost all of it with brown, but it's not going to be really, really heavy. It's going to be more of a surface level. Little bit of a dry brush, not quite. Okay. See, kind of like that. It's okay if there's some darker spots. I think I'm going to make these like window frames. I'm going to make these gold. And then I think these pieces around here are going to be silver. So it's going to kind of look like the whole building's been like bolted together. But these are wood timbers across here, so those will stay brown. And then the stucco I'm going to do in sort of a bone color. This side did not get sprayed as well, which is fine because I'm going to cover it in brown. I think the door, let's see. The door on the bottom level is just metal, but it's also supposed to be the like the storage area, so you'd want to keep it well protected. Whereas these are supposed to be like for the brew hall, we can have guests in here. So I'm gonna make the doors a little bit more elaborate. They're gonna be red with gold. And then these steps are all made of metal. So I think I'm going to do silver metal for this part, and then gold or bronze or something for the sides. Okay. So I think that's good for the outside. The inside, though, is like all stucco. No wood in there. The floor in here is stone, so we'll be getting some stonework done like we did on the ground level. Really need to put like tape right here in the middle of the table that shows me exactly what my area is that can be that can be seen. Keep me inside the frame. Okay. We're basically going to do this exact same technique on the inside, just a little bit more of a dry brush and a much lighter color. That'll give us the coloring we need. All right. That's it for the brown. And you know, to give me all the fill-in I need, were the walls on the bottom floor separate from the foundation, or did you glue them to the stone floor? They were all part of one thing, so I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to paint these brown so that then when I apply the gold, it'll have a back layer of brown to it instead of layer of black behind it. Okay. So this was all one solid piece except for the doors. So I had to kind of get in there at an angle to get the walls done. But yeah, that was all one single piece, and there's little nubs here that connect to this to keep it all locked in place. Oh no, that was going to be silver. It's fine, I'll just cover it up. This, I think, these sides I'm going to be doing in gold. And these doors are going to be painted red with gold, but I want it to be a warmer hue, so I'll just go ahead and paint these doors brown as well to start off with. Yeah, in frame. Feels like I'm basically just rebasing the entire model right now, but okay. I think we are almost done covering everything in brown. I should get the inside doors here. The doors are constructed so they don't fully open outwards, but they fully open inwards. All right. Cool. Things are still a little bit wet in some spots. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get the stone floor on this upper level done first. So we've got our uniform gray for more paints. We're going to get that applied. Okay. And we're just slapping this color in here, making sure not to get it on the walls. So we'll butt right up against the wall, but leave the wall itself. And if you're moving back and forth quick enough, it leaves the gaps in the stone, which looks a lot better. And it's great because then you can go back and once you ink it, it fills in all that stuff as well. Like I said in my last stream, I'll probably get a bunch of barrels to fill the basement. And then I will get, I'm going to do a little bar setup up here on the top floor. So this is where the patrons all come in, have their drinks from the brew house, have a good time. And downstairs is where they store everything. I don't know exactly. I guess I should probably put some tanks on the inside here so that these tanks have somewhere that they're fed into. I don't actually know a ton about brewing, so I don't know exactly where and what are supposed to connect. So there's the inside as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and get this part done in metal along here. This has got all kinds of rivets and stuff, so I'm assuming it's metal, but it's all sort of ramshackle, like the dwarves wanted to make it look like it was stonework, which is kind of cool. Here we go. All right, here we go. So now we got all of our base layers done for this floor, and now we can start working on the actual details. I'm going to use my brush to sort of scoop up extra paint that I've got on here that I made a little bit too thick and isn't drying super fast, and just spreading it to other parts where it will dry fast. Looks like most of the sides here are actually pretty dry. This is also, these shutters are also going to be the same red as that door, I think. All right. Very nice. My paint cup isn't smelling too good. I need to clean that out. Okay. So now we're going to work on the stucco. This bottle is, looks like vampiric highlight. It's difficult to see because the label's worn off, but yeah, it's a paler, almost white. So I'm actually thinking I don't want to use that. I think I want to use something a little bit more bony, like splintered bone. Yeah, let's use splintered bone. That bottle tip is clogged, so we're just gonna all right. So I'm gonna see. There we go. How much work this is to try to get in between the boards. If it's too much, if it takes too long, I may end up switching and using the big board, or the big paintbrush, and then go back in and get the boards done separately. That doesn't look too bad. I got some. Nice thing is I can just touch up along the way. Here we go. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and be a little bit messier here. And then I'll touch up the boards as I go. All right. I could try to say like, oh, well, you know, stucco sometimes spilled over onto the wood, but one, then it just looks sloppy, and two, dwarves would never do that. I'm still not sure what I'm doing with the window frames here. But, yeah, it looks pretty. I got more to clean up along the bottom here. It's actually kind of nice to have an extra set of eyeballs up above. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Once I get this done here, I'm going to place the ground layer on the top, the roof, on top, just to see how it's all looking in general. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let's see how this looks. Oh, other way around. Again, this, you know, the roof isn't inked or anything. There we go. I think I need to chop those pegs off a little bit more. This goes right on there. Yeah, so you can roughly see how the whole thing's gonna look. I like it. Cool. Okay. So getting a little bit more. Somewhere around here I've got a little thing meant for clearing the clogs in these bottles. It never seems to work for very long. Okay. I think I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do cleanup after the fact on all the wood. So I'm gonna not specifically aim over the top of the wood, but yeah, see, that's coming along a lot nicer, I think. Let's see. Looks like whitewash. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I'm glad that it actually is looking like that. You just sort of do some daubing in places where you want it a little bit more filled in. I'm running out of the paint, and I want to get this finished before I have to reload it. All right, I think that's... We'll grab some from there. There we go. All right, there. And now this side. So because we only have the one side left, I don't think we need all that. Oh wait, we got to get the whole inside. So I actually do need quite a bit more. You know what? We're gonna pour it out. All right. And it's dripping everywhere, so grab some of that. All right. Yeah, that's looking good. Now we're gonna get the inside. So I hope what you're seeing is it's really not like it's time consuming to paint terrain, but it really doesn't require like a high level of skill. It really is something that anybody can do. And to get all like corporate speak, that's why you should go you should pick up some terrain from Tabletop Terrain Minis because they made this. They printed it. And so it's actually not super difficult. I'm trying to avoid getting any on the floor there. And I got some on the floor. There we go. Now you can see. What I may end up doing is, like, since it is supposed to be a bit of a pub, like, I may hang some wanted posters on the inside here. I've actually got a whole sheet of wanted posters that I've printed out. I can stick on a different fantasy terrain. But I think after I get this whitewash on, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. I'm just going to go ahead and finish painting this thing off stream later. But hopefully this gives a good idea of how easy it is, and I'll do a video showing these like set up with other pieces of terrain. You can see it all set up together. And I'll pull out my dwarf miniatures. You can see lots of dwarves all hanging out around it. I feel like the inside would be a little bit rougher on the whitewash, because they constantly got stuff getting moved around and worked on, and people touching the walls and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's kind of streaky. It's kind of like what it's supposed to be like. So yeah, I like it. I think it's coming together well. Like I said, I'm going to do gold along all this. I think I'll do silver on here. We'll see. I'm going to do gold on here, silver on all these corners, red and gold for the doors, red and gold for this, and then I'm going to do gold along there. These round door or windows, those will also be gold. And yeah, so I think once I finish this up, it's going to look really nice. So I'll post another video soon showing you what it looks like finished. But for today, we're going to wrap this up. I managed to finish this guy all in like a single session, except for I don't think I finished the inking on it. But this building, it's just so much bigger and so much more involved. So it's taking a lot longer. So like I said, I won't do a third stream of this. I'm just going to wrap it up, and then I'll do a video showing off what it all looks like. So I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.